Yu-Gi-Oh! Legacy of the Duelist is the first Yu-Gi-Oh! Game to release on the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, making it the first next-gen or current-gen Yu-Gi-Oh! Game to release as of yet. Does this game compare to the PS3 game, which was goddamn awful, or does it compare to any of the Tag Force games and all the great Yu-Gi-Oh! Games that came out years ago? Let's find that in this review. Now, the first thing we're going to talk about is the gameplay, and the gameplay is what you would expect for any other Yu-Gi-Oh! Game. This game plays very similarly to the iPad game and the PS3 title and the Xbox 360 title that came out not too long ago. The gameplay is fast, responsive, it looks crisp and clear, although there are a few things that could be better, but now the gameplay is still your solid Yu-Gi-Oh! Experience and the most updated Yu-Gi-Oh! Experience to be in any game as of yet, as you've got all the Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5 gimmicks in there now also. So in terms of gameplay, the gameplay is very strong. It's not one of the most solid gameplay in any Yu-Gi-Oh! Game ever. But really, at the end of the day, the gameplay is the same across all Yu-Gi-Oh! Games, to be completely fair. So it's in some way it's very similar to Tag Force, and yeah, the gameplay is very good. But it's the next part that kind of lets it down a bit. The next thing we're going to talk about is possibly the game's most disappointing part, and that is its presentation. The presentation of Yu-Gi-Oh! Legacy of the Duelist is not worthy of PS4 by any means necessary. The graphics, while crisp and clear and nice to look at, it is very underwhelming considering what a PlayStation 4 and an Xbox One can do. It is not worthy of next-gen or current-gen standards. Unlike the PS3 and Xbox 360 titles, you now do get a 3D animation, very similar to Tag Force in some certain monster cards, albeit the presentation of the 3D models still isn't as nice as it is in Tag Force, at least. And the game's environments, which is now 3D, when you're dueling, the environment is 3D instead of it just being a flat 2D image in the background, which is a nice touch, but to be perfectly honest, the 3D graphics are really dated looking, and when you activate a monster and it has an animation, you can see all of the surrounding area. It is very underwhelming considering this is a PlayStation 4 game. Now, the presentation isn't the important part here about the Yu-Gi-Oh! Game, but it could have been much better, and there is no explanation as to why it wasn't as good as it could have been. But at the end of the day, whether you're here just to play Yu-Gi-Oh! The presentation shouldn't bother you that much. The presentation is still nice to look at, the cards look sharp and clear, the presentation is very clean cut. And that goes for the cutscenes as well. The cutscenes look nice, albeit they're not really amazing cutscenes. They look good for what they have to do. There is no voice acting whatsoever, so if you're here for voice acting, you're disappointed because there's no voice acting whatsoever. But that shouldn't steer you off about how great it actually is. The presentation is clean and sharp. It could have been better, but really it shouldn't be that much to deter you from a game if you're looking for a Yu-Gi-Oh! Game on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. Next up, we've got the single player content of Yu-Gi-Oh! Legacy of the Duelist, and that is the main campaign mode. Now, this is a very interesting mode, and it hasn't really been like this for any Yu-Gi-Oh! Game ever, really, to be honest, apart from a few. But basically, they give you a bunch of famous duels and legendary duels that happened in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime. So that is Yu-Gi-Oh!, Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds, Yu-Gi-Oh! Sexual, and Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5, which only at the moment has one duel to enjoy. But these are very interesting things to do. You can duel events like Yugi and Kaiba, which is the first major duel that happened in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Series, and you can gather all the pieces of Exodia and completely win like you did in the TV show. Now, you can use either story decks, so the decks that the characters used and at that point in the anime. So if you want to get a complete nice feel about that, then you can. And there's also an option for you to use your own custom deck, which is a nice feature. So there's plenty of replayability to be had here. What you can also do, if you've played through every character using the story and your own decks, then you can use a reverse duel, which is very interesting. It swaps your perspective around. So if you're Yugi versus Kaiba, if you do what you got to do with reverse dueling, then you can play as Kaiba against Yugi and completely break the Yu-Gi-Oh timeline. But the campaign is definitely a lot stronger than what it was on the PS3 game and the Xbox 360 game. It doesn't quite come up to a match with Tag Force and World Championship if I'm going to compare it to them. It's much better than the iPad game, definitely. But to be perfectly honest, this is a very solid campaign mode, and I would definitely recommend getting the game just for this campaign mode. It's really solid. Like I said though, going back to presentation, the presentation was a bit nicer. This would probably be one of the best Yu-Gi-Oh campaigns ever. The multiplayer in Yu-Gi-Oh has always been fairly good. The PS3 and Xbox 360 titles, the servers on those games were really appalling, if you want my honest opinion. Whenever I played on it, you get disconnected all the time. The iPad game was different. The iPad game had really good servers and the multiplayer was really good. But when it comes to the multiplayer, yes, you can play with friends and yes, you can play random people. The servers are solid. I've got some gameplay in the background for you to check out. The servers are not solid, there's no lag. It depends on your internet as well though. But in terms of multiplayer, there's really not much else to really do on it. All you can do is duel people. You can't do much else from that at this point, which really does suck. But it is still really solid. If you want to play your friends, you can play your friends using your own custom decks. The multiplayer is what you'd expect it to be, really. Don't let that deter you from getting the game. The multiplayer is epic. Another side note people were wondering about, and this was in the live stream of the Yu-Gi-Oh game, or when they displayed Legacy of the Duelist as well, but the deck editing system is back, and it is fairly decent. It is exactly the same as it has been in past games. With all the new cards now, you can build the deck of your desires and whatnot. The deck edit is useful and whatnot, so for those wondering whether it was still there, well, of course it's still going to be there as a Yu-Gi-Oh game, it is still exactly the same, so really you've got no concerns about that. Also, another feature I've been seeing as well that people have been wondering about, and that is how you purchase and get cards in this game. Now before, in the PS3 and Xbox 360 titles, you had to win battles or play battles and you got random cards by finishing the battle. Now, not a lot of people liked it, me included, but this time there is a card shop and you unlock booster packs by completing duels and doing whatnot. And booster packs are alright, they're mostly character packs, so any packs you buy will include cards from the character that you had, or the character that's on the face of the cards. So it's a pretty good system and you get some decent cards from it. And you use DP points, which are obviously duel points, to purchase these packs. So yeah, that's it really. Now another main concern about this game is how is downloadable content going to make. Now I have actually made a video on this myself already, predicting what the DLC could possibly be like, and to be perfectly honest, I am really disappointed from day one perspective, because there's day one DLC, and this day one DLC is integral parts of the campaign story mode in the game, and you have to pay in the UK, in Europe, you have to pay £4 to purchase this, and this will be even more elsewhere. So I have purchased the Duelist Kingdom DLC, so yeah, you can see what integral part is missing there. But when I purchased it for £4, I went through the Duelist list, and I think it's only 2 duels that this DLC contains. Now this is really disappointing. £4 for 2 duels, which last about 5 minutes. Now this is really disappointing. I'm not too sure if it unlocks more than that, but at the moment there is currently 5 DLC packs, or 4 DLC packs. No, 4 DLC packs for Yu-Gi-Oh!, Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds and Yu-Gi-Oh! Sexor. At the moment we ain't got no other idea on how DLC is going to work, but it seems like this is the way how DLC will be going forward in the future of this game. So very disappointing, but to be perfectly fair, you're not missing out on too much if you decide not to buy the DLC. You're still going to get the full experience of the game. It's just these additional couple little jewels that are going to be missing. But yeah, the DLC, a bit disappointing. A bit disappointed in Konami that they're money grabbing like this, but hey ho. Don't let this deter you from buying the game, because it's not the biggest issue. For its first entry into current gen territory, Yu-Gi-Oh! Legacy of the Duelist does a very good job at capturing what makes a Yu-Gi-Oh! Game a Yu-Gi-Oh! Game. And albeit there are some presentation issues with it being very disappointing and lacking in some areas such as cutscenes, 3D animations, the 3D environment, there are some little nitpicky bits that could have been so much better. But the game is clean, it's nice and fresh, the game looks great other than that. It looks crisp in HD. The gameplay of the game is good, it's solid, it's what Yu-Gi-Oh! Is all about. To put that in, you've got new Pendulum Summon from Arc 5, which is epic. And you also have all the current cards and whatnot included into the game at the moment. The campaign mode will last you a long time if you're looking for replayability. That's all there, no issues there. It is going to be really good, and considering they're going to add more into the story, and most probably like Arc 5 they're going to be adding to, is really impressive. The multiplayer is very good, it's probably one of the best I've ever seen in a Yu-Gi-Oh! Game before, so if you're up for playing with your friends like I am, definitely go and pick this game up if you're looking for the ultimate Yu-Gi-Oh! Experience in terms of multiplayer. Because at the moment the servers are solid, they're pretty decent, and it's just plain fun. And also, Yu-Gi-Oh! Legacy of the Duelist is a very fun game, it is good, it's not bad. Most disappointing aspect is the fact that the DLC is expensive and you only get 2 jewels out of it. And the fact there's day 1 DLC is absolutely appalling. But other than that, don't let that deter you from buying this game. I'm not going to give this game a score or anything like that, like a conventional reviewer, because I don't think that's how you're going to get your point across. This game is really good. If you're a hardcore Yu-Gi-Oh! Fan, definitely go and pick this up. It's 15 quid in the UK, which is a bit of a steep price. But it's good. It's definitely an evolution of the game that we got on PS3 and Xbox 360, which I thought was downright awful. But at the same time, it's not quite as good as the Yu-Gi-Oh! Games of old. But yeah, it's good enough. I mean, people complaining about how like they're not going to buy it because it ain't good enough. It's still a pretty solid Yu-Gi-Oh! Experience. So, final word from me, definitely recommend this title. It is really good. Yeah, this was my Yu-Gi-Oh! Review for you guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Like, subscribe and whatnot, and I'll speak to you guys later.